Your focus now is on YA, young adult fiction.
Well, I wouldn't call it my focus. It's one of the things I do.
Now, it seems to me that you're not just writing books for kids, but you're trying to somehow capture them, make them involved in technology and activism, know about security systems. But since kids are already online, why? I think you're concerned about that. So my question is, why are you concerned? Or you're just taking the opportunity to talk to these kids that are online? What's your plan exactly?
So I think that kids tend to be very attuned to how technology works and haven't thought through the ways that it fails. Mm-hmm. And in my view, the most important thing about a technology isn't how it works, but how it fails. Mm-hmm. You know, it doesn't matter how fast your car is if it explodes periodically. Mm-hmm. And so it's waiting for the failure to occur is not a particularly good way to learn from failure. I mean, it's one of the ways we learn from failure, but it's nice if you can think through some of the more drastic consequences before those consequences arise, mm-hmm. and to experience them at least, you know, secondhand through fiction. It's not that I necessarily want kids to have my point of view. What I really want is for them to become essentially not civilians in this war. Mm-hmm. I hope they join my side, but it doesn't matter to me which side they're on. I think there's lots of sides to go around. I think the important thing is that they see that this is the crucial fight, that the design of the networks that mediate all of their communications and the computers that mediate all of their interactions is the most important issue of our time.
So you think it's a war, really?
But war is kind of an unfortunate metaphor because it's not being fought by armies, but mm-hmm. A struggle anyway.
Now you have another novel called For the Win, mm-hmm. and where you talk about game culture, a topic that your friend Charles Stross did very well, in my opinion, in Halting State.
Yeah. Those books have a common origin. Originally we were going to write a book about a heist in a game world together, mm-hmm. It's very hard to find time to collaborate, and we both kept putting it off, and then we both ended up writing our own books about the subject.
And now you're back together for the win.
So it's funny. It actually shows you the extent to which ideas are unimportant and execution is everything. Mm-hmm. You have two books that literally started with the same idea. I mean, we sat down for coffee in the Strand in London in about 2003, I want to say, had a long chat about how a book about a heist in a game would work, and both went off and wrote that book. And you couldn't find two books more different, mm-hmm. right? I mean, they're not competing books. They're totally different ways of thinking about it. And actually, it's funny because when I was touring For the Win, I was in Seattle, and I went over to Neil Stephenson's house for breakfast. And I said, "So Neil, what are you working on?" And he said, "Oh, well, have you ever heard about this thing called gold farming?" And I said, "You haven't read the book I'm touring, have you?" And it turned out that Neil was working on a gold farming book about a heist and gold farming as well. So you have three books by three science fiction writers who write similar material about the same premise that are completely different titles. It really shows you, you know, there are a lot of people who worry about their ideas being stolen. It shows you how ideas are actually only the one tiny element of what goes into a book, that really execution is everything.
Especially now that everything is connected, everybody knows, you know, has the same source in the internet.
Sure, and lots of ideas occur independently in lots of places. I mean, you know, you think about all the people who came up with the idea of the novel, for example. It was independently invented in Japan and in Spain with Cervantes, and lots of other places, you know, where novels arose kind of spontaneously among different practitioners who didn't know about each other over a period of centuries. Mm-hmm.